a production of South Carolina ETV.
Gut-wrenching screams break the early morning silence as reality sets in to the teenagers involved. Twisted metal and the body of their young friend highlight just how quickly their night of fun turned tragic.
Me and a couple of my friends heard about a booze cruise, I guess was the nickname for it. Nobody really knew the real name of the boat.
Michael always called me to let me know where he was going and what he was doing. Well, when I was at the store, he called my dad and he talked to him and said he was going to go on a cruise with his friends and he'd be home. I don't know if I can do this. All right. That he wouldn't be home too late and for me not to worry, that he was fine.
So me and Jason and Mike and Rachel and Ashley went down to it and got on it, and everybody just danced, and the guys and the two other girls with me, they had some drinks.
And I had just gone to bed, and it was close to 1 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rang. So when I picked up the phone, I couldn't make heads or tails of what I was hearing. It was a hysterical boy on the phone. I could hear a lot of commotion in the background, and then he just started screaming, "Your daughter has been in an accident."
She's been in an accident. There's been an accident. I don't know. I talked to her.
But I could hear by that time sirens, and I knew something was going on.
Jason enjoyed getting drunk and having a good time on the weekends, as we all did. It wasn't just him.
And I figured he probably had a couple drinks or something like that. But before we left, the girls talked about, don't drink tonight because you're the one driving, and he would never let anybody else drive his car since it was such a nice car, so he would be the one to drive. But when we were walking back from the boat, I talked to him. I didn't smell anything on his breath. He acted fine. He acted normal. I think him and Rachel, which was his girlfriend at the time, got in an argument, so he was a little bit upset about that. But he wasn't walking funny. I didn't think he was drunk at all.
He took, namely, the lives of those 5 people in his hands, including his own, and he lost one.
Investigators say the teenagers were drag racing along Interstate 26 right near Cosgrove Avenue with speeds estimated up to 100 miles an hour. That's when the driver of one of the cars hit the guardrail where you see that yellow tape. The force of the impact sent one of his passengers plunging to his death below. Known for his silly ways and his sunny disposition, Michael Glenn had just graduated from Fort Dorchester High School on his way to becoming an entrepreneur when he was killed in a drunk driving accident.
I think what Jason was trying to do was show off and get ahead of everybody.
What is he doing? Call him. Here.
Nicole called Jason and told him to slow down.
Yo, what's up?
Jason, what are you doing? Something's gonna happen. You need to slow down. I'm serious. I said slow down.
Okay, whatever.
Stupid. Oh my God, Mike, please make Jason calm down. Please,
Doing it now? It's okay.
Please.
We do this all the time.
Please.
The last thing I remember Mike telling me was just not to worry, that Jason knew what he was doing with his car. I feel like sometimes, I remember parts of it, like I feel like sometimes we were going into the right lane, switching lanes fast, and he just couldn't get his car to go back straight, and we hit the right wall. But Me and Mike both were thrown from the car. And we don't know if we came out the T-tops or the back window, but the T-tops were busted out and the back window was busted out. And all the windows and everything were rolled up. Before I gained consciousness, one of my friends was in his truck and he almost hit me and had to swerve because I was in the middle of the interstate.
Oh my God! Come on, man. Natalie, are you okay? Natalie, what happened?
So when I woke up, I just had no clue what was going on, and my friend Harold got me out of the road and brought me to the side of the road.
Are you all right? Are you all right?
Where's Mike? Where's Natalie? Where is Natalie? Tell me where Natalie is.
I don't know. Mike's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's over the top. He's over the rail. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mike's dead. Mike's dead. He's dead. He's over the rail.
Oh my God, Natalie! Natalie!
It was a weird feeling after the accident happened. I just remember trying to get myself up, but I didn't have enough strength to stand up. And like I had no clue where I was at. Like I had just been born. I had no clue what was going on at all.
Stay away.
I fell asleep, and I guess it was about 1:35. The phone rang, and it was one of Mike's friends. And he said, "Miss Glenn," and he was going around, roundabout.
He's gone. He's gone. Mike's gone.
So I didn't get to see him again, and I never got to even say goodbye to him.
Next thing I know, I hear this banging on my door, and it's my best friend Jason, and he's hysterical, and he's like, "It's Michael, it's Michael, it's Michael." And I was like, I knew, I had unfortunately a good idea, and I immediately turned hysterical. Then my cell phone rang again, and it's my mom who's screaming, and then the coroner got on the phone, and he wouldn't tell me what was going on, and I just dropped to my knees.
And I remember looking over the side of the bridge and seeing Mike, but I had no clue. Like, I didn't know it was Mike. I didn't know what was going on. And I remember everything was dead silent. Like, I saw the ambulances, but I couldn't hear the sirens. I couldn't hear anybody talking. It was all silent.
wall.
Lost control?
Yeah, he lost control. I hit the back of him, and it was messed up.
Messed up. How much have you had to drink now?
I don't know, man.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Place you on the rest of driving the influence. So let's place your hands upon that. Families, if you're with them, put your hands behind your back. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say or do to be against you. You have that right.
Get him out of the car.
Have a seat.
I knew that Mike was with us, but I didn't think about where he was at. I didn't know he'd been in an accident, so I wasn't wondering if everybody was okay. Jason had a broken collarbone. Rachel broke her wrist, and Ashley got a cut above her eye that got glued back together. I got cut right there. My elbow was like all skinned off. The whole left side of my body was like all scratched up. I had to get stitches on the side of my head right there and staples in the back of my head, or on the side of my head. I lost all feeling in my foot for a while.
Mike's personality was like every student's personality rolled into one. Every person that you could think of, every good part of their personality was Mike's personality. He loved everybody. I can't imagine him ever frowning. He smiled at everybody and he hugged everybody. He had the greatest hugs.
He liked to draw. Every once in a while he'd go in his room and he would draw. A lot of times lay on the floor and do things. Like I said, he drew a lot, and he doodled his initials, MG. They were everywhere, so much so that the kids wanted to do tattoos like that. In fact, one of his female friends showed me her tattoo. She has her MG on her shoulder. But I said, no, let's not do that. Let's do something else.
We all decided that we wanted to make a decal out of it and put it on our cars. So everybody that was in our little group and hung out, we all got big stickers made, and every single one of us have it on our car. And a lot of it's just, you just look back in your rearview mirror and you always have a memory.
Mike was carefree, loving. It's hard to put into words. Somebody who lit up the room when he walked in.
Michael is funny. His future plans were so many. I mean, they changed drastically every couple of months. And he had high aspirations. He planned on making a lot of money. And of course, he said the first thing he was going to do was buy me a house and a car. And I know he would have been successful in whatever he did because he was a people person.
I saw Mike having a great future. He had so much potential and so much energy and will to do it, more than most of us had. He could have took himself very, very far. He would have. He wanted the best things in life. Not just money, but a great family, kids, the house with the white picket fence, everything everybody ever wants. And he would have had it too.
Jason was the very popular guy, good looking. Everybody liked him as far as students went. And there's parents who didn't like him because they knew of him drinking and, drinking and driving.
All of these young people were very popular. They were kids who enjoyed each other and enjoyed having a good time. The good times ended with that traffic accident. It certainly could have been avoided.
I think Jason's got a hard future. He's got a hard road ahead of him. In jail and when he gets out, it's going to be a hard life to live knowing you killed your best friend, basically.
I hated Jason. I used to be really good friends with Jason, and after it happened, I put every single type of blame on him, and it took about 3 months for me to even think about talking to him.
The law of this state is if 3 teenagers are racing down the highway and someone dies, that all the drivers should be indicted and can be convicted.
But the principal at Fort Dorchester High School says Judd was an accident waiting to happen.
While I would like nothing more than for us all to know and believe that this is a one-time accident. This is a one-time, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I won't do it again. Your Honor, the truth is it's not.
The principal said he repeatedly warned Judd about his reckless driving around the school after receiving complaints. He also found marijuana in his car twice.
I therefore sentence you to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 10 years.
Don't go around thinking that daddy or mommy's got a lot of money to pay an attorney to get you out of trouble. They paid a lot of money for representation, not only from me but from another lawyer, and their son still ended up in jail.
I still talk to Mike every single night before I go to bed. I've got a picture of him that stays in my bed every single night when I'm sleeping. When I'm not in my bed, it's always on my bed. And I always talk to him every single night before I go to bed.
I've never walked in her room where Michael's picture has not been in her bed. So it's been a traumatic experience for her, for her sisters, for her brother, for her father, for all of us.
He never left the room, never went to bed, never went to school, never went to work without kissing me goodbye. I said, I love you, Mom. I'd give anything to hear that again.
We always thought that whenever we drank and drove and went and had fun, that It would always be that we always get caught by the cops or something. It would never be that we lost a friend because of it.
I had to stop blaming people. I had to stop crying all the time. So I took a trip to Delaware to visit my aunt, and while I was flying, I guess, in the plane, I took out a notebook and I wrote down everything I ever felt about Mike before, everything I feel now, everything I want to feel later. And I wrote it all down, and when I got home, I put it on a website. It helped me a lot. I got it all out. Every time I start to feel down again, I go there and I read it all again and realize how I felt and how much farther I've gone. And I start reading about how everybody else felt and how they helped each other through it.
All of Mike's really close friends read their thoughts and feelings about Mike and what kind of a guy he was, and then they'd put that note in his casket.
We all had wrote little things that we wanted to say to Mike. We all stood up in front of the church. There were so many people. There were people standing on the back. You couldn't even find a place to sit. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my whole life, is having to bury your best friend. But I could try to tell you more, but I've just kind of blocked that day out of my mind. It's just like a big blur. I think about it, a lot, but at the same time, I still try to block it out some too.
I'll never forget him, ever, obviously. I mean, it's very sad. I mean, I'd always hoped for him to, be my best man in my wedding. That's obviously not going to be the case.
Jason will be out. He's up for parole in two years. He's close by. His parents have they're able to visit him. I would love that. I wish Michael were in jail and he'd be out in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. I don't care. I just wish I could see Michael again.
I think of Mike as my guardian angel. I guess just for watching over me that night of the accident, because I was hurt pretty bad. But I think it's going to affect me for the rest of my life, and I'll always remember it and always think about it. Something will always remind me of him. I wish we would have never gone on that boat.
But you were always in my thoughts and prayers. And I will go out there, and I will help others when I get that chance. And I understand what I do is wrong, and I deserve to be punished.
Before Judge Gary Cleary sentenced her, he told the courtroom this was a difficult case for him, and he said he had a daughter Shayna's age.
Shayna and Nikisha, one night after having the ultimate party experience, they did what every kid thinks would be the coolest thing to do. Worked, drank and smoked a little weed too, wanted to play some more, had a good time. They didn't mean to hurt anybody, didn't intend to go kill anyone that day.
The night of the accident, everybody was just sitting down, having a normal conversation, just talking about the day, how the day's been.
There's nothing wrong with having a good time. Only when that good time gets to the point you start killing people. Men, women, you start killing babies, 3 years old, 18 months old. That's when no longer is a good time.
Shayna had already had prior plans, spoken with the other guy that she was supposed to meet up with. And we had all met up about 6:30 or 7 that evening.
They were partying down, not had a care in the world, and chose to get on that exit ramp, go down the interstate, and killed not only a man and his 2 babies, but she killed her own life. She took away her privileges because we had to. The consequences were 30 years. She's not eligible for parole.
After we had left the house that we had been partying at, I would say her driving, she was definitely wasted. And at that time I was scared for my life to be in the car with her, and tried to convince her to pull over so we could call somebody to come get us. I told her that, you know, let's go to the, you know, the nearest, because they did not have a telephone, and it was by that time it was midnight, and I told her that we needed to go somewhere, even if it was the neighbor's house, to call somebody. And she insists that we got in the car and we drove. So we got in the car the whole time, you know, praying, God, please watch over us.
And they stopped at a 7-Eleven convenience store, and the clerk tried to get him a taxi cab.
He said, you know, you don't want to do this, that I'll call a taxi for y'all. And I said, you know, that's fine with me, that's great. Let me go tell Shayna so we can, you know, get someone to come call for us so we can get home safely. And when I told her that, she got hysterical, saying he's going to call the cops, we're going to go to jail, get in the car. And so I did again.
That's not a clear thinking person. That's the alcohol talking. You're okay, go ahead and drive. No, you're not okay when you start listening to that little thought in there and you done had well over your limit and you can barely speak. You're stumbling around. Oh, your friend's going to laugh at you and go, oh, that's funny, right? Right up to the point you kill somebody.
When we pulled up at the second store, I went inside. I said, I don't feel good. And by that time, I had gotten really sick, and I got sick in the sink and passed out. I don't recall for how long. And then by that time, Shayna had come in. She had done the same thing. She passed out after getting sick from throwing up.
Nikisha went in. She's getting sick. She's passing out. She's hurling in the sink. Shayna hurling, throwing up, and they both pass out. Nikisha says they both are passed out together. But when they wake up, Nikisha is still wanting to stay and not go. Shayna becomes a different person.
Shayna had hit like split personality. And it was 1 minute she'd be at the car, you know, waiting on me. The next minute she was, you know, hitting the doors, not, you know, knowing to go into the right door. And nice 1 minute, come on, you know, we need to go home, bring you to your son, he needs you. Next minute, get in the car, let's go. So, you know, I'm really scared at this point, and I refuse to go.
Shayna now wants to go, and she's not interested in her friend. She leaves her purse in the car and didn't want to wait for her. And despite the efforts of the convenience store clerk, she gets in that car and drives away to a totally different destiny.
It's been told to me that if you let an action happen, you condone to it, regardless of the outcome of it, if you take no action to prevent it. In this case, it wouldn't have took much for a person to say, you're going to give me these keys. We're best friends, right? But you're out of it. You're going to end up hurting someone. Drunk driving, would you give your friend a loaded gun and tell him, well, by chance, just kind of go around the neighborhood waving it around in there? No, you wouldn't. Would you go to a crowded restaurant and let a person take out a steak knife and just start swinging it around, you know, knowing that it's innocent people sitting there? No, you wouldn't.
I said, no, you know, we need to call somebody. And the clerk at the same time is like, why don't you give us the keys? So, you know, we're sitting around waiting and waiting. And then finally, she gets really mad and storms out the door, going out the wrong door, and then turns around, heads out the door, gets in her car, and she speeds out of there with no lights on or nothing.
Driving a vehicle while you're very intoxicated to the point where you get on the interstate going the wrong way. It's just looking for disaster, and that's what happened.
For the longest, they've been telling you it's wrong to get out there and drink and drive. But do we do it? No, we ignore it because it's like the lottery. I'm going to take a gamble. Then I take that chance. I can get from this place home without murdering anybody.
After about 5 minutes, we saw police cars, ambulance, fire trucks, and you get that gutty feeling, you know, seeing Shana just leave speeding off, and I just knew it was her. So we immediately called the police.
This morning, an Augusta family on their way home never made it. They were killed in a head-on collision. The accident scene has been cleaned up, but left behind are these 3 crosses on the highway. Dexter Hearns of Augusta and his 3-year-old and 18-month-old daughters were killed instantly. The Highway Patrol says 19-year-old Shana Lively of Augusta was drunk and driving on the wrong side of the road. The crash happened about 1:30 this morning on Interstate 20 near mile marker 7. That's the North Augusta stretch of the highway. This is the first multi-fatal crash in Aiken County this year. Mr. Hearns was wearing his safety belt, and both girls were in safety seats.
We was there, and we talked with the troopers that was at the site, and he lived a little while after that. Do you want to know what it was like? Would you like for me to tell you? He moaned, he groaned, he wanted his family there. He died in the cold, alone, on the side of the road. His babies died from a broke neck. They were asleep in the car seat. Can you imagine, can you just imagine dying alone on the side of a highway with no one there that you knew?
When I arrived, well, prior to me arriving to the scene, the ambulance crew came back over the radio and advised that they had 3 DOAs and 1 patient for transport. I knew at that point that it was not going to be a pretty sight when I got there.
And I seen the photographs. His leg bone was sticking through right through his shin where it had shattered. He had a hole in the side of his hip you can almost stick your fist in. The steering wheel snapped off. He caved his chest in so bad at the funeral we wasn't allowed to touch him.
I found the driver of the vehicle that Shanna struck. He was crushed into the driver's seat of the vehicle. I looked in the back seat and I saw 2 small children in their car seats, slumped over, and all of them were dead.
At that moment, a piece of me died. A lot of me died. When you hear that your baby brother's being, taken away, it hurts. You become disorientated. You experience anger. You want to know what happened, why it happened, who done it, and why. And then to go into the shocking part that the babies was in there with them, especially up to the point where you never seen one of them.
Yesterday, a whole family was wiped out yesterday because of one 19-year-old's actions, not caring for herself or caring for anybody else out there.
The cops come to the store, and he said, can you please identify Shana in the car that she was in? And he said, well, I believe that's her that's been involved in a car accident. She went down I-20 the wrong way, killing 3 people. And at that moment, I had that bad feeling. I said, please tell me there was no kids involved. And he said there were 2 very small kids. And at that time, I went outside and fell down to the ground. Thankful, but at the same time, why?
The first time I seen my youngest niece, she was in the morgue. Let me describe to you what it was like. It's a very cold room. They got a metal table in there. They don't have on any clothes, right? They got something look like a piece of paper that's disposable that's laying over them, right? And they're laying on these cold metal tables.
Solicitor Barbara Morgan assures the Hearns family she'll see that justice is served, and it's justice they want.
The maximum amount of time that she's supposed to have for
taking these 3 deaths. It won't bring my loved ones back, but at least she won't be able to go out here and drink and kill nobody else.
What I did was so wrong. And if I could take it back, I would with all my heart. If I could take it back, I would.
Lively pleads with the family of Dexter Hearns and his 2 small children, asking if they could ever forgive her.
I know it's a great deal of pain, and I really don't think that I will ever feel the pain that you feel.
Lively will know what it's like to spend the next 25 years in jail, spending her 20s and 30s behind bars, now realizing she may never have children of her own.
And I pray that you guys will maybe one day, with the thought of death within your heart, have a little bit of forgiveness.
That portion of my family is gone. There's nothing that I can do to undo what has been done. But who would it be next week? Would it be your family?
There's all sorts of victims. You got family members that become victims of such a tragedy such as this. Something with this magnitude and this much tragedy, you don't ever forget it. I mean, it stays with you. Anytime there's children involved in a fatal accident, it stays with you.
These are individuals like my brother and his 2 daughters. Those are what we call statistics, but they're not statistics. That's my brother and my 2 nieces. They're not a statistic. They're family members. I love them very much.
Jenny, any comments? You feel bad about the accident? You want to tell anybody where you got the alcohol? You have any words for the family?
Teenage years are periods of time when your hormones override your intellect, where your musculature and your body functions are probably a great deal more developed than your mental ability. The problem, of course, is the law does not take that into consideration. They treat you as an adult. You are required to think, act, function, and respond pursuant to our laws as an adult. And if you suffer those consequences, regardless of your age, that's it.
Lively pled guilty to charges related to the crash. The sentence, 25 years in prison and a $10,000 fine.
That is not an accident, so I didn't call it an accident. I call it murder. Because you're willfully, as sure as you would take a gun out, went down a highway, hit someone head on or broadside her, and killed them just as dead as you would have took a gun out and walked up to him and executed him.
So we have this situation with Shayna where it gets completely out of control. The alcohol in people under 21 is a serious problem, and the addictive nature of starting drinking at a young age, there's really consequences to it. And the consequences were ultimately the most severe with Shayna.
Accidents happen, but alcohol-related accidents really aren't accidents. They're irresponsible acts on the part of a human being, which directly affects innocent people, and that, you know, and in this case it was just extremely tragic. I mean, these poor folks, they had no clue this was happening to them, but all of a sudden their life was snuffed out.
It's sad that Shayna's in jail for such a long time. She's missing out on everything. I mean, children, your education, I mean, everything. I mean, she's in there for a very, very long time.
The last walk is when you have to walk them to that hole, that gravesite. Your heart is in the casket with them. That is the longest, most painful walk that you would ever want to ever take.
I was the same way as far as thinking it would never happen to me in a million years, and it did. It's not worth losing your life over. You have so much ahead of you, and one fun night can end your life for the rest of your life. You could be in jail, never see sunlight again, never have children, a family, And there's so much more to life than that. And it's not worth losing everything around you.
All day, people gathered around this snapped tree. They left roses, cards, and toys as a memorial to the 3 friends who lost their lives this weekend.
You don't know when you're going to lose them. And you don't know when you're not going to be able to say goodbye. Because I know I didn't get to.
Lindsay Walden's friend Kelly Lewis was in the car with Jason Dye and Thomas Byington at 3:30 Sunday morning. Byington was driving more than 70 miles an hour when he ran off the 2-lane road into this tree, flipping his car. This is all that's left of the 1995 Nissan.
I don't ever want anybody to be in the position that we're in right now for stupid stuff.
The coroner said all 3 had blood alcohol levels that were more than 2 times the legal limit, and everyone in the car was underage.
To never be able to touch your best friend again because of drinking and driving, it's not worth it.
I was at my boyfriend's house, and it was like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and my mom called me, and she just said that something bad happened, and I asked her what happened, and she wouldn't tell me, and I thought I was in trouble or something, and then she said Kelly died, and it was like, I don't know, like I flipped out pretty much. Like I just started screaming.
We had spent the whole day together, the day of the accident. Just spent the whole day together. It was very nice. We talked a lot that day. She had told me that the night before that she had almost called me to come and pick her up because she had been in a car with a girl who had been drinking and was out of control, and she was afraid she was going to die in that car that night.
I can still remember exactly what she looked like when she was laughing. The smile that she had was one of the biggest things I remember about her. She just had a smile that would light up the room.
A lot of teenagers live for, I think a lot of teenagers do the things we did, but I think that you just really start looking at yourself and saying, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? You know what I'm saying? Or, how many times am I going to get so lucky?
I was told it was one of the boys was thrown from the car, and that the car had landed on top of them, and I just cried, and I felt so bad for those parents. I felt so bad what they must be going through, that a car landed on their child. And then I found out that it was my baby that the car landed on. And that was so hard, and that she was only 4 miles from home.
The night these teens were out, they were at a party, a private party. There were actually four individuals in the vehicle. One of the gentlemen left his car at a nearby convenience store. When they were going home, they let him out. He was following them back to one of the others' house, and they were going to go out again after that to, get breakfast or something like that. He actually witnessed the accident. He was following his friends. He knew that they were going too fast. The last thing he saw was tail lights go fishy, is I think how he described it. When he gets up, he sees the accident and pulls in and finds his friends, not responding to him at all.
No matter how well you think you can drive when you're drunk, because I know a lot of people who are like, yeah, man, I can drive so well when I'm drunk. I can do it. You can't. It's common sense. It's been proven. You're slower. You cannot drive drunk. You can't. No matter how many times you get away with it, one of these times you're not going to.
The vehicle itself was just unbelievable. More damage than even myself I'm used to. Very heavy damage. The roof of the vehicle is torn off. As I approached closer, I saw the victims of the accident. And it's just a very helpless feeling to see them lying there. I could immediately recognize it was young I won't say kids, but young adults. This, just brings a feeling to your stomach that's undescribable unless you've been there.
The kids never knew what happened. They never knew the impact. It was awful. The top was completely tore off the car. One of the doors was tore off the car. The car was upside down. 2 of the kids were under the car. One was laying halfway under and halfway out of the car.
These individuals never knew what happened. The driver himself may have had time to think, oh God, but that was it. It was over before he knew.
We arrived at the scene and found 3 occupants partially in and out of a vehicle, and all of them were deceased. The first one, we checked the vital signs, and he was obviously dead from head and neck and trunk trauma. The other 2 individuals inside the vehicle were crumpled up, and the only thing that was very identifiable was the red hair that was exposed, and the body parts were entangled so much as you couldn't tell who was who. We checked the vital signs at this particular time, and there was none on either individual, and this is the appropriate time that we have to call a coroner, unfortunately.
In my line of work, I see a lot of the results of teenage drinking and driving, and the hardest part of my job dealing with this is after we clean up the accident is the fact that we have to go and knock on somebody's door and tell somebody's parents that you're not coming home.
And as a parent, you think, you worry your whole life about that knock at the door. Your whole life you worry about that. And we got that knock at the door, and I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget those words. And that she was in an accident, and that she didn't make it.
But you could tell that the evidence of the strong smell of alcohol was inside the vehicle. It was a contained smell of alcohol and a mixture of blood also, and that's a distinguishing smell.
But there's a lot of blood. It's just the kind of thing that you see. I guess you'd see in a horror story, as far as being dark, cold, and eerie, because that's the way it was out there.
An accident such as this, even though at the time I don't think it affects me at all. As I recall, I think I was getting home at 7 o'clock that morning, and I'm thinking about it, thinking if there's anything I forgot to do with my job description. Of course, after that, I'd lay down and go to sleep, and somehow I find it on my mind.
And I've never seen an accident site like this in my life. So as soon as the accident happened, that's straight where everybody went the next day. There was flowers put there. I went there and brought flowers for her birthday. I brought candles there. I love candles. She loves candles. Her mom loves candles. So any candles that I found that were really pretty, I'd bring them up there and light them. Any candles that people left that would blow out, I'd light those.
My husband was on his way to work, and he called me, and he said, I'm going down Gold Hill Road, and they're widening the section of the road, and they're going to take Kelly and the kids' stuff, everything from the accident site. So you need to get up there right away if, you want to get your stuff. And we just jumped in the car, and we just went flying up there. So Kelly's friends and the workers and I packed up the Suburban and came back here, and we've just put it in our front yard and have just tried to make it a labor of love. I want a billboard out there on that road to remind not just kids, everybody that Tommy and Jason and Kelly remind everybody, don't drink and drive. Just don't drink and drive. It hurts too bad.
You have 2 passengers here that were killed also. you're not safe if you're a passenger.
She was in the back seat and she had nothing to do with it, and she died by somebody else's hands.
Myself, I'd rather be in control than to think my life is, in someone else's hands. So passengers, be aware, think before you get in the car with someone that's been drinking.
Just don't let my friend Kelly's death be in vain. Learn from this. It's real. We are real people that really get messed up sometimes. Go hang out with our friends, do stupid things, and this will happen. It does happen.
It's so hard for people to hear it unless it happens to you, because it went right in one ear and right out the other for me. But you don't want it to happen to you. And I don't think people are invincible now, and I don't think I'm invincible now. And I know that it can happen to me, and I know that it can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor or if you're the best person in the world or if you're just like we were or if, anything. It can happen to you.
Every day when I get up, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get through the day without my baby.
If you don't think about yourself enough to get into a car when you're drinking and driving, if you don't care about yourself that much, please think about your family and your friends, because they can't live without you. They really can't do it. It's just not worth it. It really isn't. It really isn't worth it.
When somebody dies, a cloud turns into an angel and flies up to tell God to put another flower on a pillow. A bird gives the message back to the world and sings a silent prayer that makes the rain cry. People disappear, but they never really go away. The spirits up there put the sun to bed, wake up the grass, and spin the earth in dizzy circles. Sometimes you can see them dancing in a cloud during the daytime when they're supposed to be sleeping. And when they sing wind songs, they whisper to us, "Don't miss me too much. The view is nice, and I'm doing just fine."